Welcome to Sipping with Maria and Tika G. We got to pay these bills, so let go. Here's a word from our sponsors. Anchor has tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. When hosted on Anchor, you can distribute your podcast on listening platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and more.
It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. And best of all, Anchor is totally free.
Whoop whoop!
Boop! Download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started.
Today.
Welcome to Sipping with Maria and Tika G, where we do not talk about politics, religion, or celebrities. We feel like there are enough blogs, and other podcasts that talk about that stuff. This season, for season 1, we're talking about relationships. And we picked this title because it's something everyone can relate to. We're not just talking about couples, we'll also be talking about all types of relationships, like parent and child relationships, in-law relationships, brothers and sisters relationships. The list goes on and on and on. And for our first topic is actually a question that we sent out to ask our listeners to answer. And the question was, how long should you date before moving in together? And the answers that we got were hilarious. They were fun. They were pretty good. Tika, since you had got the most answers to the question, would you like to go over some of the answers that were given to you that, from the listeners?
Hey everyone, this is Tika G. I believe for the answers, we did get some interesting answers. Everyone is different and sees things different. But one of them was basically saying, if it works out, if the relationship is working out, you should be, talking about how you're going to lead up to that point. But then on the other end, they were still saying, you should have your own place in the first place. Have your own, have your own, and then see if this relationship gonna work out in the first place. Like my mom would tell me, do not put all your eggs in one basket.
Right.
So that seems like what this person was basically saying, because they kind of like, hey, they didn't elaborate, but they're kind of like, how in the world do you know it's gonna work out, and then you just don't have nowhere to go afterwards. You're just living together, so
right.
You have to find a place to go. So,
well, one of the answers that really caught my eye, that was very interesting and made a lot of sense. Basically, before they answered that question, they was like, the man and woman has to define their level of commitment. He said a lot of times you're just roommates with sex. How do you feel about that statement?
I feel like that statement could be true in a lot of ways.
I agree.
Yeah, if I have someone that's close to me, a cousin, that basically says, my woman is my roommate. Meaning, yeah, I may say that she's my woman, but in the same time, she's my roommate. I could have sex with her, and then it's no real, he say not tied down to her, so he still does what he wants to do. So, he was like, but hey, having a roommate is wonderful. He said that type of roommate. So I'm like, okay, wow.
Sounds like a friends with benefits type of situation.
Yeah, I can see how people would kind of go into that area there, and because sometimes with moving in when things are not defined, it creates a gray area, and when either person does not know what's going on, it could kind of be like that. The friends with benefits, the roommates, I'm out doing me, it could be like that. I could see that.
Oh no, child, stuff is strange. People do the strangest things nowadays. Yeah. Nothing surprises me anymore. Like people tell me stuff, I go, oh, okay.
Yes, it's like but that's what it's come to. Like nothing surprises you anymore. You're just like, okay, and you don't want to seem like you're that much, disconnected, but right. In a sense you are, because you're like, okay, yeah, not surprised. All right, wow, okay, yeah, do you, and that's it.
It's to the point, if you told me a pig could fly, I would believe you.
Right.
So it's like it's very, 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 yeah, it's definitely very interesting. Now, did you have what other answers did you get from that question that stood out to you?
The one where, okay, well, first of all, let me just bring up that, shout out to the men. Shout out to the men, because those were 90% of my answers. Okay. And so the few women that did answer the question, the one that really stood out was when, and it was a woman, she said, go off of, she said her original thought was a year, but why not just go off of the vibe, that's going on in the relationship, or, going on between you two, like, why not just go off of the vibe? So what do you think about that? Just the vibe and how both of you may be feeling, you know what I mean?
I agree with that, and I'm gonna tell you why. Because that's kind of like my situation was. We met, and it was like, let's do it. So, and that's what happened. So it definitely has to be a vibe. Definitely has to be a vibe.
Yes, definitely, the vibe. And, she was saying basically she would have put a time frame on it. But why not go off the vibe? And, some people are doing that, and some people are successful in their relationship when they have done that.
I agree.
It's been, take a chance type thing. If you're willing to do that, because some people are to the point where they're tired of taking chances and they've stopped.
Now, what about, so I'm looking at one of the answers, and it says lack of commitment with shacking. I guess what they're trying to say, when you're shacking up, there's a lack of commitment. Do you agree with that statement?
Yeah, there could be, if you guys have not fully discussed what's going on in a relationship, because some people have not fully discussed or defined the relationship. They have assumed what is going on in the relationship is what it is, and the other person could be like, well, where did you get that from? I never said that I agreed with any of that, and then the other person on the other end ends up getting hurt. But when they really think about it, they'll say, okay, wow, I didn't even talk about what was really going on in the relationship. And I think sometimes when you assume things that are going on in the relationship and you have not fully talked about it, and having a clear-cut answer from the other person in regards to what is actually going on, well, then you can get mixed up and confused. So I just think that when people are not constantly discussing what's going on, it can create confusion. And or another person could take what it is for granted and just assume that something is going on and the other person is totally against it or does not agree. And I've met some people like that. They'll say, man, I really did get hurt. I thought that this person knew how much I cared about them and knew what was going on in the relationship, and they didn't even really talk about it, so it's like, yo, you gotta communicate, you gotta talk. Never I had a man tell me, and it was a professor when I was in college. He said, never assume that I'm a mind reader. Never going on until you guys tell me, regardless of what's going on in this class. And it's the same way with relationships.
Right. Because as women, we do assume that we shouldn't have to ask you. You should automatically know. Now, I'm guilty. Guilty. You supposed to already know. You claim you know me so well, so you should know what I like, but not to get off subject again, to go back to what we were talking about. I guess to answer that question, there's really no right or wrong answer to that question on how long you should date before moving in together. That's my opinion. It's like you said, some people, what is it, love at first sight? So
I do think that love at first sight can happen, and I hate to sound so cliche, when people be like, what, love at first sight? But it has happened, and I know I was raised by two people that it happened. It happened for them, and they created me, my parents. So I just think that the whole issue of people not maybe not believing in it, I do think that it exists, and the whole thing of people not really, some people say, no, you have to really get to know a person, but sometimes that love at first sight does happen, and then you guys build in that relationship and get to know each other. It is rare, but it can happen.
I just feel like you can know somebody all your life and don't know them at all. I've learned that.
Right.
Where you be like, yeah, JoJo would never do that. Keisha would never say that. No, and then when you find out they really did it, they really said it, you're like, well, I thought I knew them. I known him since he was a little boy, or I knew her since she was in my class. And it happens. It definitely happens. So again, the answer to that question is really no right or wrong answer to it.
Right.
At all.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And I know everybody has their own individual experience, and I know people, have ways that they do things.
Right.
And then I know that people, some things may have happened to them in previous relationships, and they are the way they are now, so.
Well, how long did you and your husband date before y'all moved in together?
I believe it was about 2 years.
Okay.
2 years, and then got engaged pretty much right after that.
Okay. Cool beans. And then y'all got married 2 years after the engagement.
Yes.
Cool beans. Mine was shorter than that. It just happened.
That's what I'm saying. It just
It
happened,
happened.
and it could just happen, and you guys either choose to build together, or you don't, but it can just happen. And
Mhm. Oh, she knows she put herself on mute.
neighbor, really, I'm trying to talk to her one day, and she's just walking around smiling, going to check her mail. And I said, oh, how you doing? And she said, oh yeah, I'm engaged now. But with her story, she met this man on a Friday. Went on their first date on a Friday. He was moving his U-Haul, driving his U-Haul up to her house by that Sunday or Monday, and he has remained there. So, and she said, hey, I really don't know what's up, and how this happened, but it did. So, I don't know. What do you think about that?
Hey, it is what it is. But my youngest son's father, let's just say I was supposed to stay the weekend at his house and I never went home. So that's basically what happened. So hey, that's why I say I believe, stuff happens. Nobody's perfect. No one should be judging anybody about their situations, especially if you don't know what's going on. So
Okay, I do agree.